Hello and welcome. I am Exalite, and this is my channel. This is another of my series of true paranormal experiences, and this case might be one of the most well-known and well-documented cases of paranormal activity in the United States of America. This is the Demon House of Gary, Indiana. Perhaps the first indication that something strange was going on at LaToya Ammon's new home were the swarm of flies. The flies appeared at the house on Carolina Street in Gary, Indiana, just days after the family moved in. The strange thing was that it was November of 2011, during the cold Indiana winter, which is not the time of year when flies would be expected. As it turned out, the flies would soon be forgotten, at least for a while, as months turned into years of bizarre phenomena unfolding, culminating in a series of exorcisms and the demolition of the home. The family involved in this case consisted of LaToya Ammons, her 3 children, and Ammon's mother, Rosa Campbell. Strange phenomena began quickly and became commonplace over the coming months. The family often heard the sounds of footsteps climbing up the basement stairs, and the sound of the door leading from the kitchen to the basement opening. Even when the door was locked, the creaking sound of it opening could still be heard. The sound of footsteps would soon become footprints, as Rosa woke one night to find the shadowy figure of a man standing in her room. Campbell jumped from her bed, and the phantom figure disappeared, leaving behind large, wet footprints. Events in the home took a dramatic leap on the 10th of March. It was about 2 a.m., and the family, who would normally be sleeping, was gathered with friends and loved ones because a loved one had passed away. Ammons went to her mother's room where her 12-year-old daughter and her friend were sleeping. As she entered the room, Ammons began to scream. Others in the home quickly ran to the room, and all of them witnessed Ammons' daughter levitating above the bed. The group began to pray, and the apparently unconscious girl slowly lowered onto the bed. The girl soon woke and had no memory of what had occurred. Ammons and Campbell were not sure what they were dealing with, but they knew they needed help. They contacted several churches, but only one seemed willing to even listen to their story. And after a visit to the home, the church informed them that the house did indeed have spirits and should be cleaned with bleach and ammonia. Ammons also contacted mediums who believed that the home was filled with evil, claiming that the house was home to more than 200 spirits and demons. The women followed most of the instructions they were given to rid the home of the demons and whatever else may be in the house, including building an altar under the basement stairs. The only advice they didn't follow was to move out, because that was not an option for them financially. 3 days after the house had been cleansed, the demons returned in a terrifying fashion. LaToya Ammon's 3 children began to display new and frightening behaviors. Her 12-year-old daughter would later tell investigators of being held down and choked by an unseen force and told that she would be dead in 20 minutes. The 7-year-old boy was found sitting in a closet talking to an invisible being. When asked who he was talking to, the little boy said he was talking to a little boy who was telling him about what it feels like to be killed. The children also began to display a strange appearance. Ammon said their eyes would bulge. They would speak with very deep voices, and they had what she described as evil smiles. Fearing for their safety, Ammons took the children to see their family doctor. The doctor examined everyone involved and, according to his notes, believed that the family was suffering from delusions and hallucinations until the situation then became chaotic, when the 7-year-old began to growl and curse at the doctor. The boy then appeared to raise up off the floor before slamming into a wall as if he'd been thrown. Both boys passed out and could not be revived, so 911 was called. The 2 were taken to Methodist Hospital, where they woke up, the 9-year-old appearing to be fine, but the 7-year-old was screaming and thrashing violently. It reportedly took 5 people to hold him down. Indiana's Department of Child Services was called and sent investigator Valerie Washington to make the initial report on the case. As part of the investigation, Latoya Ammons underwent a psychological examination, and she was found to be of sound mind. It was while Washington was interviewing Ammons that the 7-year-old began to growl. His eyes rolled back, and he suddenly grabbed his brother around the neck and began choking him. He refused to let go, and his hands had to be pried loose by the hospital staff. It was getting late, but the most bizarre event of the day was yet to occur. Washington was about to begin writing her initial report on the Ammons case when she decided to speak with the Ammons' 2 sons once again. The 2 boys, along with Rosa Campbell, Valerie Washington, registered nurse Willie Walker, and other medical staff, went into a small examination room. Almost immediately, the younger boy, staring at his older brother, said, "It's time to die, and I will kill you." In response, the 9-year-old boy got an evil smile on his face, and as everyone looked on, he appeared to glide across the floor to the wall. He then walked backwards up the wall and onto the ceiling, flipping over Campbell's head and landing on his feet. Valerie Washington had all the information she needed for her report. It was decided by doctors that the 7-year-old would be held overnight at the hospital. The boy's mother stayed with him, while Rosa took the 2 other children to stay with relatives. The next day, the whole family was back at the hospital to celebrate the boy's 8th birthday. It was not, however, a happy occasion, as Latoya Ammons learned that DCS had moved to take emergency custody of her children. The youngest child was sent for further psychological evaluation, while the older 2 children were placed in a temporary home in Gary. Emerging from the darkest of times, a splinter of hope. A Methodist hospital chaplain, aware of the bizarre story of the Ammons family, called a friend. This call was made on April 20th, 2012, and went to Father Michael Maginot, the priest at St. Stephen Martyr Parish in Maryville, Indiana. The chaplain believed that the 9-year-old walking up the wall, as well as other phenomena witnessed at the hospital, may have indicated that the boy was possessed. Just 2 days after receiving the call, Father Maginot went to the Ammons house on Carolina Street and spent 4 hours interviewing Ammons and Campbell. While there, the father saw that there was evidence of the family's past attempts to rid the home of evil. The altar was still under the basement steps, and salt was strewn about the home. Father Maginot blessed the home and left, believing that there was true evil involved in this case. He also convinced Ammons and Campbell that it was no longer safe for them to stay at the house on Carolina Street, and the 2 agreed to stay with relatives. On May 10th, the official investigation of the case continued at the Ammons home. The group assembled included Ammons, Campbell, Father Maginot, several police officers, and DCS caseworker Samantha Illick. Illick was assigned to investigate the family after Valerie Washington refused to work any further on the case. Latoya would not enter the home, so Rosa Campbell led the group into the home. Police and Father Maginot were particularly interested in the area under the basement stairs where Ammons had built the altar, as it was the only area of the basement that was not covered with concrete. However, after the police dug down, they didn't find anything. As he delved deeper into the Ammons story, Father Maginot came to the conclusion that it was the mother, Latoya Ammons, that was possessed by demons. Father Maginot next approached Bishop Dale Melizek about performing an exorcism on Ammons. Bishop Melizek had never approved a major exorcism, which is an exorcism with the full backing of the church, in his 21 years as bishop, and did not grant Father Maginot's request either. The priest, however, could and did perform a minor exorcism on Ammons. The results were less than expected and maybe just made things worse. Father Maginot reported the failed exorcism to Bishop Melizek and again asked for permission to perform a major exorcism on Ammons. By this time, Father Maginot had much more information about what was happening to Latoya Ammons, and his most shocking claim was that Ammons was possessed by the mighty demon Beelzebub, Lord of the Flies, as well as the demons and captains and lieutenants of him. Reluctantly, the bishop granted permission, the first one in his 21 years as bishop, to carry out a major exorcism on Ammons. In all, Father Maginot performed 3 exorcisms on Latoya at his church in Maryville. The first 2 were performed in English, the last one performed in June of 2012 in Latin. The exorcisms seemed to have been effective, and Father Maginot declared Latoya Ammons to be free of demonic possession. Following her exorcism, Ammons continued to work to regain custody of her children, and by November, the children were back home with their mother. The DCS case of the Ammons family was closed on February of 2013. According to Father Maginot, the Ammons family is now doing well and currently living in Indianapolis. Paranormal investigator and star of the hit TV show Ghost Adventures, Zach Bagans, bought the house in 2014, shortly after reading an article about Latoya Ammons' claims. He was quoted as saying, "Something was inside that house that had the ability to do things that I have never seen before, things that other carrying the highest forms of credibility couldn't explain either." He told the Indy Star via email, "There was something there that was very dark, yet highly intelligent and powerful. It's been reported that one of the stars of the show left the house and was afraid to go back in." Zach Bagans has produced a documentary about the house, and he had the house demolished in February of 2016. Thank you for coming to my channel. If you enjoy true paranormal stories or real unsolved murder mysteries or new and original creepypasta that I write myself and you won't hear anywhere else, please push that button to subscribe. Also, like this video, and if you want to be notified of new content when I upload it, click that bell. Thank you.